Hello everyone and welcome. If you want to improve your English naturally, you're in the right place. In this 1-hour lesson, you'll listen to real-life English conversations that native speakers use every day. Each conversation is slow, clear, and easy to understand. After every dialogue, we'll explain important vocabulary, useful phrases, and pronunciation tips. So relax, grab a notebook, and let's improve your English together. Let's begin.
You are sitting in a conference room, or, maybe you're on a crucial video call.
We've all been there.
Right. And the person on the other end is outlining this highly complex strategy, and suddenly, this horrifying realization washes over you.
You've completely zoned out.
You have completely zoned out for the last, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no idea what they just said.
So you default to the universal survival mechanism.
Or a fake nod.
Exactly, the fake nod. You give them the slow, measured nod, maybe furrow your brow slightly so you look thoughtful, and you just feel the panic slowly rising in your chest.
We all do it. Or consider another scenario. You're staring at your screen, and you need a massive favor from a colleague in a different department to hit a critical deadline.
But you're completely paralyzed.
Yes. You are rewriting this 2-sentence message over and over because you don't want to sound like a demanding tyrant, but you also, you can't afford to sound so passive that they just ignore you.
Well, both of those moments represent a really fascinating breakdown in how we manage social capital.
Yeah.
We often think of language simply as a way to transmit data, right? Like moving information from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But beneath the surface, it is this highly sophisticated negotiation of power and status and, well, ego.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are stripping language down to its studs today.
We really are.
We're pulling from a transcript provided by the Mr. English channel, which catalogs a very specific set of everyday polite phrases.
But we aren't here to just list out basic manners for you.
No, definitely not. Our mission today is to look at the hidden sociolinguistic mechanics of these phrases, like how the strategic deployment of a few very specific words manipulates psychological distance, mitigates our primal threat responses, and ultimately manages this invisible ledger of social capital that dictates our entire professional and personal lives.
It's a remarkable data set to look at through the lens of sociolinguistics.
Yeah.
If we start by looking at the absolute baseline,
The basics.
right? Phrases like nice to meet you or just a standard thank you and you're welcome. The underlying mechanism there isn't just about being pleasant.
It's a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. It is about establishing a cooperative baseline. In linguistics, there's this concept called politeness theory, which is largely built around the idea of face.
Like your public self-image.
Precisely. Every interaction holds the potential to damage someone's face. So these basic foundational phrases, they act as a handshake protocol between two computers.
Verifying the connection is secure.
Right, verifying that neither party is hostile.
But once that baseline is established, you have to actually execute complex tasks. And that is where the linguistic machinery has to become, highly specialized.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
And the material provided breaks this down beautifully, starting with what I look at as playing defense with your social capital, the art of saving a failing conversation.
Because before you can ask for a favor or negotiate a deadline, you have to ensure the basic transmission of information is actually functional.
Right.
And the data categorizes conversational breakdowns into two distinct types. Each one requires a totally different mechanical fix. The first is environmental.
Okay, so physical barriers. Like you're in a noisy coffee shop or the audio on the video call keeps cutting out.
Exactly.
The transcript highlights the phrase, "Could you please repeat that?" But let's look at the underlying logic here. Like, why is this specific phrase so effective?
Well, it's effective because it completely removes the burden of fault from both the speaker and the listener.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a completely neutral request. It implies that the environment is the enemy, not the communication skills of the people involved. So it protects both parties' egos.
It's the Wi-Fi's fault, not yours.
Exactly. But the second type of breakdown is where the psychological stakes get much, much higher. Speed and comprehension.
Cognitive overload.
Yes.
This is the fake nod scenario we talked about.
Yeah.
Someone is speaking way too quickly or the material is just too dense. And the transcript suggests deploying phrases like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you explain it again?" Or, "Could you please speak more slowly?"
Right.
And I have to be honest here, I want to challenge the real-world application of this.
Really? How so?
Well, admitting you don't understand something, especially in a high-stakes, highly competitive professional environment, that is a massive, face-threatening act to yourself.
It feels like it, yes.
It feels like a concession of status. If I'm in a boardroom with senior executives and I stop the meeting to say, I'm sorry, I don't understand, I'm basically actively signaling that I am the slowest person in the room.
I hear what you're saying.
Isn't it strategically safer to just do the fake nod, write down the acronyms, and then blindly Google them later?
It feels safer in the moment? Absolutely. Because your brain is prioritizing short-term social survival over long-term clarity.
Right.
But sociolinguistically, the fake nod is actually a low-status behavior. It's driven entirely by fear.
Wow. Okay.
Let's analyze the mechanics of what actually happens when you use a phrase like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you explain it again? First of all, you are taking control of the pacing of the room. You are halting the momentum of the speaker.
Which is inherently a high-status move. So by stopping the train, you are proving you have the authority to pull the emergency brake.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are demonstrating that you are entirely unthreatened by the concept of not knowing something. True confidence is the ability to tolerate vulnerability without losing your composure.
That is a great way to put it.
Furthermore, you're signaling to the speaker an intense level of active engagement. You're essentially saying, the structural integrity of this project is more important to me than my own temporary ego.
So it frames you not as slow, but as meticulous.
Meticulous and rigorously attentive, exactly.
That completely flips the paradigm. It turns a moment of ignorance into like an assertion of quality control.
Right.
You're protecting your social capital by refusing to let a tiny misunderstanding compound into a massive, incredibly costly error down the line.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established the baseline. We know how to protect our face and clarify information. But eventually, you have to actually spend some of the social capital, right? You need things from other people.
This moves us into what the data reveals about the politeness spectrum.
The spectrum, yeah.
Because navigating your day requires extracting information, or labor, or time, from a constantly shifting cast of characters. And the transcript highlights how drastically our language has to shift to accommodate the environment.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that shift. Because the material contrasts a casual interaction, say, looking for an item in a grocery store and asking an employee, can you help me, please?
Right, a standard casual request.
Right. It contrasts that with a formal professional environment where you would say to a colleague, I need your assistance with this task. Now, what is the actual functional difference there? Because the underlying request is identical. It's just, do this for me.
And the functional difference is the manipulation of psychological distance.
Okay, explain that.
In a casual setting, can you help me, is highly personal and very direct. It implies a horizontal power dynamic.
We're on the same level.
Right. But when you switch to the formal register of, I need your assistance with this task, you are purposely introducing structural distance between you and the other person.
Why do we want distance, though? I mean, usually we're told that closeness and intimacy are the ultimate goals of communication.
Not in a professional setting where you're making a demand.
Ah, okay.
Think about it. If I walk up to a colleague and just say, help me do this, the primal subconscious response from their brain is to interpret that as a direct command from an authority figure.
Which triggers resistance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It triggers resistance. By elevating the formality to, I need your assistance, you're wrapping the request in institutional language. You are making it about the task, not about your personal dominance over them.
Like putting on a tuxedo instead of sweatpants.
Yeah, exactly. It creates a professional boundary that protects the dignity of the person being asked.
It depersonalizes the labor. Like, you aren't doing me a favor, we are jointly applying resources to a required outcome.
Precisely. And the material goes even deeper into this by examining how we calibrate that distance when driving workflow. They contrast two specific approaches to getting things done.
Right, the direct versus the soft approach.
Yes. The first is direct. Could you send me the report by the end of the day? The second is what we call autonomy granting. Would you mind helping me with this task?
Now, I see those two phrases used all the time, but I want to push back on the efficiency of the second one.
Okay, let's hear it.
In a fast-paced corporate environment, isn't, would you mind helping me, just unnecessary fluff?
Fluff.
Yeah. I mean, if we both know that you have to do the task anyway, why are we playing this game of pretend where I act like you actually have a choice in the matter? Doesn't a direct, could you send me the report, just cut through all the noise?
It does cut through the noise, and for established routine workflows, it's highly efficient.
Right.
But we have to return to politeness theory here, specifically the concept of negative face.
Negative face.
Yes, negative face is a person's fundamental desire to be independent, to have freedom of action, and crucially, not to be imposed upon.
Okay.
When you're asking for something outside the standard routine or you're requiring extra effort, a direct command is a massive violation of their negative face.
You're threatening their autonomy.
Exactly. Even if they mathematically do not have a choice, even if you are literally their boss, using the phrasing, "would you mind," functions as a vital linguistic shock absorber.
A shock absorber. I like that.
It pays homage to their autonomy. It provides them with the psychological illusion of consent.
Wow.
It essentially says, I recognize that I am imposing on your time, and I am formally acknowledging your right to refuse, even if we both know you won't.
That is wild.
It's that microscopic nod to their independence that prevents resentment from building up over months and years of collaboration.
That is fascinating. So it's not fluff at all. It's a structural requirement for long-term cooperation. It prevents the social fabric from tearing when placed under the stress of daily demands.
Exactly.
You know, the transcript also points out a brilliant phrase for use in meetings. Could you explain that in more detail, please?
Yes.
It seems like a simple request for information, but based on what you're saying, it's actually validating the other person's work.
It is the absolute inverse of the request for labor. You are granting them the floor. You're signaling that their ideas have value, which builds up their positive face, their desire to be appreciated and approved of.
Which brings us to the most volatile part of the human experience.
Friction.
Friction! We know how to ask for things, and we know how to grant autonomy. But what happens when our needs directly collide with someone else's? We have to talk about repairing social capital when there is friction.
And friction is inevitable,
Yeah?
Interruptions, canceled plans, delayed deliverables. The language required to navigate these moments has to perform incredibly heavy lifting to prevent a complete breakdown in cooperation.
So let's start with the most common form of friction, the physical or conversational intersection. The transcript flags, as the foundational tool here.
The WD-40 of social mechanics.
Exactly. You use it to get attention, you use it to physically navigate through a crowded hallway, or you use it as a micro-apology when you bump into someone. But the material quickly scales up to a much thornier phrase used for interjecting.
May I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes. The polite interruption. Now, I have to take a hard stance against this one.
Okay.
I really struggle with this phrase because interrupting someone is inherently an act of conversational aggression. You are deciding that what you have to say is more important than what they are currently saying.
True.
Doesn't putting "may I" in front of it just make it polite bullying? You are still cutting them off. You're just putting a velvet glove over an iron fist. It feels like this manipulative loophole where you get to commit a social foul but avoid the penalty.
Well, that is a very cynical, though not entirely inaccurate way to look at it.
Thank you.
But let's look at the neurobiology of an interruption.
Mm-hmm.
When someone is speaking and they're suddenly talked over, the brain registers it as a microaggression. It can literally trigger a mild fight-or-flight response.
Like a physical reaction.
Yes, the amygdala flares up. If you just barge in with louder volume, you escalate that threat response, and the conversation just turns into a dominance competition.
A shouting match.
Right. What the phrase, "may I interrupt you for a moment," does is bypass the amygdala entirely by appealing to the prefrontal cortex.
Interesting.
Yes, it's still an interruption. Yes, you are still asserting dominance over the conversational floor. But you're offering a formalized, ritualistic preamble. It gives the current speaker a microsecond to process the incoming disruption and, crucially, to cede the floor willingly.
Ah, you are forcing them to hand over the talking stick rather than just snatching it out of their hand.
Exactly. It preserves their dignity. By asking for permission, even if the permission is, somewhat compulsory, you allow them to play the role of a gracious host yielding to a guest rather than a victim being overpowered.
So the velvet glove actually matters.
It matters deeply because it maintains the structural integrity of the relationship, even while an aggressive act is occurring.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. You're mitigating the primal threat response. And the data shows this exact same requirement for mitigation when we deal with logistical friction, scheduling.
Well, time is our most fiercely guarded resource, which is why altering schedules requires such incredibly delicate handling.
The transcript points out two distinct mechanisms here. First, establishing parameters. I'd prefer to meet in the morning if possible. It's clear, but it leaves the door open.
Right.
But the second one is for when the system totally breaks down and you have to change plans. Could we reschedule our appointment for next week? I noticed the specific architecture of that phrase. It doesn't just say, I need to cancel.
Because a naked cancellation is a massive withdrawal from your social capital ledger. It communicates that the other person's time is expendable.
Ouch.
Right. The phrase, could we reschedule for next week, immediately offers a concrete alternative. It functions as a tourniquet on the relationship.
It stops the bleeding.
Exactly. It instantly signals, your time is still valuable to me, the objective is still a priority, we just need to shift the logistics. It maintains that forward momentum.
But sometimes momentum just isn't enough. Sometimes you just completely drop the ball, ruin someone's schedule, and cause real messy friction. You have to apologize.
Yes, you do.
And this is where the transcript draws a truly fascinating distinction between types of apologies. We have functional repair and we have empathetic repair.
This is a critical distinction in sociolinguistics. The material highlights the phrase, I apologize for the inconvenience caused by the delay.
That is a purely functional apology. I mean, it acknowledges that friction occurred, it acknowledges a loss of time, but it maintains a massive amount of psychological distance.
It does.
It's the language of a delayed train or, an automated email from an airline.
Right. It repairs the structural damage to the social contract, but it doesn't attempt to repair emotional damage. It's a transactional balancing of the ledger. Like, you experience an inconvenience, I acknowledge it, we are even.
But then the transcript introduces the heavy machinery for real friction. Please accept my sincere apologies. Now that is entirely different.
Because it shifts the focus from the event, the delay, to the relationship. It is an empathetic repair.
Wow.
It requires the speaker to lower their status and actively request forgiveness. It demonstrates real vulnerability. When you say, please accept my sincere apologies, you are handing the power back to the other person.
You're giving them the choice.
Yes, you're giving them the authority to accept or reject your repair attempt. That surrender of power is what makes the apology actually feel genuine and meaningful.
Which perfectly transitions us into the final dynamic we need to explore today. We have protected our capital by asking for clarification. We've spent it by asking for favors and navigating autonomy.
And we've repaired it.
Yes, we've repaired it by managing interruptions and apologies. But how do we actively invest social capital? Like, how do we go on the offense and build the capacity of the people around us?
This is where language moves from being just a tool for survival to a tool for leadership.
I love that.
The material explores how we elevate standard interactions into relationship-building events. And it starts with the evolution of gratitude.
We mentioned a basic thank you earlier as the handshake protocol, but the transcript highlights a much more robust mechanism. I appreciate your assistance. What is happening psychologically when we upgrade to that specific phrasing?
Well, a basic thank you acknowledges an action. I appreciate your assistance. Acknowledges the effort behind the action.
The effort.
Yes. It elevates the mundane act of helping into a recognized contribution. It tells the person that their specific labor did not go unnoticed.
It makes them visible. And that theme of visibility is even stronger in how the material handles compliments. They give us two phrases, and the distinction between them is just a masterclass in human psychology.
Let's hear them.
The first is, you did a fantastic job on that presentation.
Right, a highly effective, output-based compliment. It reinforces good behavior and boosts immediate morale.
But the second phrase is operating on an entirely different level. It's, I admire your creativity. To me, that is top-tier varsity-level communication.
Let's break down why it feels that way to you.
Because it isn't about the presentation. It isn't about the output at all. When you say, I admire your creativity, you're validating a core component of my identity.
Yes.
You're telling me that you recognize a unique, intrinsic talent within my brain, and that you place a high value on it. It completely separates my worth from my mere productivity.
Exactly. You are validating the architecture of their mind, not just the bricks they laid that day.
I love that analogy.
From a sociolinguistic standpoint, this is the ultimate investment of social capital. When you make someone feel deeply seen and valued for their intrinsic traits, you actually trigger a massive release of oxytocin and dopamine in their brain.
Wow, really?
Oh, absolutely. You are actively rewiring their neurochemistry to associate you with psychological safety and reward.
You're building an environment where people will actively seek out opportunities to collaborate with you.
Which is perfectly reinforced by the final set of phrases in the dataset. Proactive support. Can I assist you with anything? Or the slightly less intrusive, let me know if you need any help.
By offering help before it is even requested, you are completely shifting the gravitational pull of the room. You transition from a consumer of resources to a generator of capacity.
You become the safety net.
Exactly. So for you listening, as you navigate your own complex environments, recognize that integrating these specific linguistic tools doesn't just make you a smoother English speaker. It fundamentally alters your power dynamics and your influence.
It allows you to navigate the intense friction of daily human interaction with actual precision, rather than just reacting emotionally to every roadblock.
We have covered immense ground today. We've looked at how claiming ignorance can actually be a high-status move to protect your social capital.
Wow.
We've explored how increasing psychological distance and granting autonomy allows you to extract labor without triggering a threat response.
We've covered a lot.
We've analyzed the velvet glove of the polite interruption and the vulnerability of true empathetic repair. And finally, we've seen how validating someone's core identity through specific compliments builds these deep cooperative networks.
It is a truly remarkable framework for human interaction. But, as we synthesize all of this, looking at the sheer mechanical calculation behind these phrases raises a rather unsettling philosophical question.
Uh-oh. Lay it on us.
Well, the underlying premise of politeness theory is that we use these structures to maintain harmony, right? But I want you to consider this on your own. Does utilizing this highly structured, calculated language phrases literally engineered to manipulate psychological distance and mitigate amygdala responses, does that actually make us more empathetic people over time?
Or are we just hacking the human operating system?
Precisely. If we are just deploying "I admire your creativity" because we know it triggers an oxytocin release that makes a colleague more compliant, are we genuinely building connection, or have we just become incredibly skilled at playing the social game?
That is heavy.
Does the continuous act of wearing this polite linguistic mask eventually shape our internal hearts to care more about others? Or does it merely provide a highly effective way to hide our own self-interest?
Wow. That is the ultimate paradox of language. Does it shape the heart or just hide it? I love that provocative thought to leave on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of everyday communication.
It's been great.
The next time you find yourself about to fake nod through a meeting or staring at a blinking cursor, terrified to ask for a favor, remember the underlying psychology we unpacked today. Deploy the right tool, shift the dynamic in the room, and observe how the system responds. We will see you on the next deep dive.
That's the end of today's English conversation. Practice speaking every day to improve your English. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like this video. We'll see you in the next English conversation. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.